John, when it comes to purchasing a quality mandolin for under $1,000, there are very few choices out there.
That is true.
But today we have picked two of the most popular options, and they're going to go head to head.
That's right, it's the Loar versus the Eastman. Two incredible mandolins at the same price range, but with some major key differences.
The key of A and the key of B. Which one has the best tone, which one plays better, and which one gives you the most bang for your buck? Stick around because we're going to break it all down. And if you stay with us until the very end, we're going to reveal two controversial products that we know will make whatever mandolin you choose sound even better.
And Eddie was a sweet romancer, a darn good dancer. They waltzed the aisles of the five and dime.
Both of these mandolins that we have, John, are well-built, high-quality instruments.
That is true.
But they are not identical. Each one has unique characteristics, something that makes them a little bit different. It might be a better choice depending on what people are looking for.
That is also true, Jeremy.
That's why I said that.
And as always, if you're interested in either of these mandolins, check out the links below. Every instrument over $1,000 qualifies for our Dreadnought guarantee, where you can buy with confidence.
All right, John, let's jump right into the details. And I like the way you're holding that right there.
I feel like
one of those hunter. We're gonna paint you with a hunter rifle and some dead birds behind you.
Isn't this the way you mandolin players hold your mandolin?
Yeah, no.
Like, and then when it's time for you to play, you just kind of go.
You guys see him looking up at the screen to see himself. We're gonna start out with this Loar, the LM-700, John.
Okay,
you hold
that's
that
not what I'm
mandolin
holding.
just like that, and I'll talk about this one.
Yeah, I'll put it down. You put it up like that. Watch.
Watch.
If you put it up, people will pay attention to it.
We made this video pre-tariffs with the threat of tariffs, but pre-tariffs they're at $999. It's right at $1,000. F-style mandolin. It's a solid hand graduated spruce AAA top on this one, as well as solid hand carved AAA maple back and sides. One piece maple with rounded V profile on the neck, ebony fretboard as well, and a graduated braceless top. A little bit different there.
That is a lot different.
It does have a bone nut at 1 1/8 inch, so it's a little bit one of the wider neck profiles. Grover open geared tuner like the plate tuners on the back, and a gloss vintage sunburst on this. A lot more of that traditional look that people are used to. Maybe a little bit brighter take on that. So yeah, a very good option for a full gloss hand carved F-style mandolin.
Now we're going to move on. I'm going to put it in the right pose, Jeremy, to the MD315 from Eastman. This mandolin comes at $959 before the tariffs. It's probably not going to be there by the time you see this photo. It is an F-style mandolin with a solid hand-carved spruce top and hand-carved maple sides and back. As for the neck on it, it is a maple-necked mandolin with a little bit slimmer profile. Kind of reminds me of more of the traditional mandolin shape. It does have a ebony fretboard and bridge with the standard tone bar or parallel bracing. The nut width on it is 1 3/32. It does have the Pingwell tuners and a satin lacquer finish. Another thing we want to mention on both of these, this one does come with, the Eastman comes with a soft padded gig bag, which is really nice, but the LM-700 does come with a hard shell if you are in North America or just America, really. And that, again, maybe be pre-tariff as well.
But that is a good option if it's something you look for, a hard shell case. All right, John, let's talk about some of the key differences that people might appreciate. Let's go into the finish start with. That one does have that satin finish, which we've talked about on this channel extensively with guitars and mandolins. Satin finish seems to give you a really open tone, like right out of the gate. So a brand new instrument can sound aged a bit.
It does. But it also sacrifices some of its protection as well as a more focused and detailed tone.
Yeah, so a gloss finish like this one might have just a little bit more clarity normally, just if they were identical instruments and then had a gloss finish versus satin.
Correct.
But appearance-wise, there is something about that gloss finish that a lot of people are used to seeing in some of the vintage instruments they've seen musicians play. But I do say with our customers, a lot of them are leaning towards that satin finish.
I'm seeing people that are going for it for just the appearance alone. They like the satin finishes quite a bit these days. So.
Another thing that to note is the wider neck on this one. And Eastman did recently come out with a wide nut option for a couple models that they have, the 515 being the first one. But in general, this one has a little bit more comfortable feel for me, and I think for guitar players, where that's going to be a lot more reminiscent of the early Gibsons, a slightly narrower
A
neck.
little bit wider than
little
that,
wider.
though, because those come in at 1 1/8 or 16th. Sorry, 16th, 1 1/16, where this one's coming in at 3/32, and that would put it right in the middle of these two style mandolins.
Yeah, so it's kind of a feel thing, but I can personally feel a difference on it, and it's a little bit more comfortable for that wide nut, but I've got a 305 that I play all the time, so it's kind of whatever you're most used to playing.
You'll also find that neck shape is a little bit more bulky and straight round, where this one's a little bit more angular. I find it, I know they claim it to be more V on that one, but I almost feel like there's a little bit more pointed. It's rounded on the back end, but it extends further deep.
One other thing to note here, John, that we didn't mention earlier, is this one does have a flat fretboard.
Correct.
Whereas that's going to be a radius
fretboard.
Again, preference. Some of the early Gibsons were all flat fretboards, and only recently did the radius fretboard become a lot more popular in new mandolins being built. So for me, I'm much more used to the radius fretboard, so I would lean that way. But if you're new to playing mandolin, I don't think it'll make much difference in your playing. It's kind of what you get used to playing.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the tones of these mandolins, I definitely find this mandolin to be a little bit more in your face, got some higher highs, a little bit more, I don't know, it's a different sound, where that one's very dark and thick.
Woody and mellow.
There's a lot of low end in both of these, but that one's just got that really kind of just blunt, fatness to it.
And again, it's a preference thing. I've heard some incredible mandolin players that just lean towards this really thick, woolly tone. Dempsey Young is one that comes to it. His mandolin was like that really fat, thick sound to it, and really blunted high notes. But that one, if you're it's got a lot of clarity. If you're in a group with a couple guitars and a banjo, I think I was going to cut through the noise a little bit more. And notice how I called it noise when it's a banjo and a guitar.
One thing that we add on to these, by the way, you won't see it at all music stores. We do have those overtone suppressors that get rid of all the crazy noise back here. Highly recommend that. And they come standard with any mandolin that we ship out of here.
I also mentioned earlier, John, the extended fretboard extension, Florida extension. Kind of looks like the state of Florida. Again, it was reminiscent of those Lloyd Loar mandolins, the F5G or F5 mandolin design. For me, though, I'm so used to digging in there that I get a lot of that clicking when I play.
So do most players. And I would say that's probably become a preference as of late, is the snipped or gone, or scoop it and get it out of the way.
They'll remove those frets and actually lower the fretboard there so you're not hitting
it as much. That's a very, very common thing. So again, if you want the tradition of it, that's great, but I would say most modern players are trying to not have that in order to not hear the fret clicky sound.
And then let's get to the setup and consistency, John. And this is where I've given some hard knocks, I think, to the Loar brand for a while, partly because they were a little inconsistent. Lately, though, we've seemed to have been getting a lot more consistent, good sounding instruments.
I think they've heard us.
See, they listen, John. They watch the channel. Now, they actually came out and visited us and asked some advice and things we thought, and we were very honest with them. And it's consistency. Like, you can get some that are just really awesome, and then the very next one's just kind of a dud. Lately, like, I would play this mandolin. It is a great sounding, even though it's more that blunt tone, that thicker low end, not necessarily the style or tone I normally gravitate towards. I really do enjoy playing this mandolin. So setup and consistency is getting much better with this. I could say with Eastman, it has been
always
stellar. Just about every instrument we get in, we do a little tweaking of the neck just to make sure once it got here that it soaked up the right amount of humidity, but not a lot that we change in the setup because it is right where we like it to be. So, and consistent. We rarely have an issue with one of those. So both of them, Loar is stepping its game up big time. Eastman has always kind of been that standard bearer in this price range. One more key and very evident difference between these two mandolins, John, is aesthetically. This is going to be that full gloss finish, more of that traditional sunburst, but it also has the binding on the front, back, and the neck and headstocks. That's
so it has a much more deluxe look. Like I said, inlays in the peg head.
Gold hardware, gold tailpiece, gold screws for the adjustable bridge.
Or this one just has the pearl logo and that's it. Pearl dots. They are genuine pearl on this. I'm not positive on those, but it could very well be inlays on that peg head as well.
The general appearance, this does look like maybe a higher end instrument. It kind of has that more deluxe.
It's fancier looking, Jer.
Which, not to be dismissed, John. If you're starting out on mandolin, you want something that looks really nice and attractive. And I think they did
I
a
don't
great job with
dismiss anything fancy, Jeremy.
All right, John, in tone, we've already talked about it a little bit. They're both doing a great job, but slightly different. The Loar has more of that Hutto, really deep, woody tone. Not necessarily the one I would lean towards. When I'm looking for a mandolin, I like it to be pretty even across all frequency ranges just to have more clarity. But this does have a really cool, deep, warm tone. So in this price range, I think it's doing a very good job.
It's very barky.
Out of that 1 to 5, I'm going to rate this one a 4.7.
Good job.
Because it's got a big bark to it.
I agree with you. Actually, I think this is a great sounding mandolin. I was going to go with a 4.6. I think we're both kind of in the same space. It's a great sounding mandolin. Does lack a little bit of the highs and balance. That would probably be the biggest knock I would have on that mandolin.
Well, that brings us to the MD315 from Eastman, John. It's been kind of one of our top selling mandolins and one of the most popular models in that $1,000 range. And I'm going to go out there and say, in general, this one I'm putting at about a 4.9 in that price range because it just consistently has a very good, even tone to it with a big bark and something that a seasoned musician is going to enjoy, but also a starting out musician will get a lot out of.
Yep, I think this has fantastic bass. Great highs. It might be a little bit on the bright side, but I think, again, with some age, give it some time, it will round out a little bit more, and I think it's going to be a fantastic mandolin. I was going to go with a 4.8 on that particular one.
All right, well, let's go to setup and playability, John. We mentioned before these can be a little less consistent than the Eastmans have been. Right now, the action's a little higher on this one there than I would like it, but it has a lot of height to this adjustable bridge, so that can be brought down really easily with that knob right there. So they're getting much better at it. So I'm going to lean towards optimism and saying they're going to be really consistent going forward. And I'm going to give this one about a 4.5 on the setup.
Okay. I went through and looked at it a little bit. I noticed some inconsistencies in fret heights. It's not quite, the fret job is not as clean as some of the things that I have seen. The nut does tend to be a little bit on the high side as well. And like you said, just the overall adjustment bridge, that's a little bit different now. So me on the setup, yes, it's come a long way. I think these are much better, but I'm still going to have to just put it, I would put it at a 4.2.
Fair enough. Let's go to the Eastman 315.
315, oh yeah.
One of my best favorite recommendations for a starter musician because they are set up so well. You're not going to have to push down really hard. The nut height is easy to play that first and second fret without a lot of tension on it. Without buzzing going up the neck too. So that's also, you want it low, but also not buzzing when you play high at the neck. No high frets. Consistency in a price range that you don't see that type of setup in general. That's one of the things that I recommend it the most for, so I'm going to give it a 4.8 there as well. Yep,
I actually going to go a little higher. I actually think it's a 4.9 in setup. There's not anything that I can complain about. There's more of the space to be able to adjust up and down, yet it is just easy to play right out of the box.
All right, here's where we might find a few differences as well, John. The build quality, let's start with Eastman this time. They really have set the standard. This is what turned me on to Eastman at the beginning was a 315. About 12 years ago, I saw one. I'm like, man, how much did this cost? And I was blown away at the build quality in that price range. Is just stellar. It's they did take away some of the bells and whistles as far as the binding and the gloss finish to keep that price down, but they put that extra money and expense into the build quality of them. Consistently hand built. When we talk about hand carved top and back, they really do
True
tap
voicing.
tone those. So they're actually tapping the piece of wood, taking more off the bracing to get the most tone out of it and consistency out of them. So a little bit more time and dedication in the build quality on there. So in this price range, I'm going to go all the way to a 5. Yeah. I think it doesn't have all the fanciness that you might see in other mandolins, but the quality of the build is right up there.
I got two things that I don't like about it. One is the tuners.
I agree.
I think this is where they can easily step this up, and there are options in there. We have talked about the Loar having Grover tuners in there. That's a major, major upgrade on this. So that said, there's some great things here. I love the rounded edges to the bridge. They've gone through and cleaned up all that kind of stuff. Everything just looks good. The tuners are a bad space for me where I easily could be upgraded. And, you know, the finish is a love-hate deal. You either like this just plain brown, which I think is actually kind of attractive, but it's a very simple, basic finish. So again, for me, with the tuners the way they are, build quality, I think I'm gonna go and give it a 4.4.
Wow, big difference there. So, big knock for the tuners.
Yeah, because I
agree. Yeah, they could easily upgrade the tuners.
That's probably, in the build
I didn't
quality.
consider that in the build quality, but I guess that would fall under that category. So I'm with you there. So getting to the Loar, John, on the build quality, I think, again, they've stepped it up a bunch. The quality of the build, looking at it, is much better. I have my concerns about not having braces on the top, and right now I think that's really helping with that deep tone. My concern is, years from now, does that top start to sink with all that downward pressure on it? Hopefully they've really worked out the mathematics of that and make sure that top is strong enough without that extra bracing. But I think that was a way to save some extra labor, getting rid of those and get some good tone out of it. But I think it's a little bit of a shortcut in the build quality. Otherwise, like I said, upgraded tuners on that, really, really nice option. They did do all the extra bells and whistles as far as the binding and the fretboard extension. So a lot of extra work put into it. In this price range, I think they did a really good job. I'm going to go with a 4.5 overall build quality.
I'm going to match you in your score. I have, again, some things I don't. Yes, the tuners are a major upgrade. I think the fretwork, the binding, those kind of things are not quite as tight as what they could be. I am a little concerned as you, and maybe it's unwarranted of the non-brace. I don't know what that's going to look like in the end. But again, the finish it's a gloss finish. But is it the best finish I've seen? You can see the divots and dimples of where the inlays are.
It bursts a little bit.
Yeah, but even more so, inlays on the peg head. You can see the ups and downs of that. It's not as level of a style finish on there. So it's good. It's not great.
But in this price range.
In this price range, it's pretty darn nice. So again, 4.5. The look of this, it's plain, it's simple, it's you either love it or you don't. I know people who have grown up with the traditional look of a gloss finish and a sunburst. That's what they want to see on a mandolin. It's been that way since 1923. So it's got a, part of the overall look of an F-style mandolin. But I think this looks pretty attractive. I like simple designs. I like woods, especially when we get the ones that come in with some really nice character and stuff in here. And, even not, it still looks attractive. So is it anything that's just to go crazy over? No, I just think it's a good workhorse mandolin. Looks-wise, I just find it to be good. It's a 4.5 for me.
I think it is definitely understated as far as the extra appearance package option of it. It does have a very plain look to it. Some people really love that. Some people don't want something that really stands out. They like it to kind of look a little bit more almost gun stock appearance to it. So it's attractive, but it's not, in that price range. They sacrifice some of the aesthetics, I think, for the setup, playability, and build quality. But I'd say it is definitely, it's nothing to write home about. Nothing if you see on the wall, you're just going to be, oh my gosh, look at that thing.
Somebody's going to call and say.
I'm going to give it a 4.3 in aesthetics.
All right.
That's pretty straight.
I agree with you.
Whereas this one, the Loar, the LM-500, or 700, sorry, the LM-700 Vintage Sunburst.
It's pretty.
It's pretty. I think that was really where they were going for this, is to make it look really attractive. Aesthetically, they did a good job with the binding all the way around the back and the neck and the headstock, upgrading to the gold hardware. Some people will love or hate gold. It's kind of not as popular as it once was. But appearance-wise, with that gloss finish, it does look really nice. So I'm going to give it a pretty good score for aesthetics. I'm going to put it at a 4.8. It does have a nice back on it. It's attractive-looking animal.
I was going to say the same thing, actually. A 4.7 was where I was going. I think it's a very nice, attractive mandolin. Definitely shows an upgrade. It's just pointing out what we've been saying here is, if you want just a straight-ahead workhorse mandolin, this leans that way. If you want all the extra bells and whistles that go along with a nicer, feature set, that's where the Loar just stands up. So that's where I would agree with you, Jeremy.
Which will bring us to that last statement, John. What is our overall value that we would give these ones? A score to 1 to 5. The great news is it used to cost a lot more money to get a good sounding, especially F-style mandolin with all these extra, setup, playability, the build quality. There weren't a lot of options, and now we're getting a few. Eastman really was the main contender. The Loar is now really sliding into there. There's some Kentucky options. There are some really good options in this price range to have a quality instrument that you don't have to break the bank for. I think they've stepped it up with the hard shell case, the upgraded tuners, the gold package on it, as well as the gloss finish and all the aesthetics, and now a much better, consistently good sounding instrument. It is a really good contender for somebody wanting the looks and everything else with it. I'm going to give it a 4.7, a 4.8. I'm going 4.8 on this one, John.
Go for it, buddy. I'm going to go with a 4.7. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Eastman's going to fall in that exact same space. They're both good values. There's things that I love about this one. I personally think the playability and the tone is a little bit better. It's a little bit more matched. If I was just going for, man, I just want the best sounding and playing mandolin I can get, this is where I'm going to go. I want feature set. I'm going to go with that. So that's why they kind of equal out to me in their own way. Both great mandolins. It's going to come down to what is most important for you.
I was actually going to say the same thing. It's a 4.8 on that one as well for different reasons. It doesn't have a lot of the extras. It doesn't have a hard shell case. It does have a lifetime warranty. It is hand voiced. Consistency has been incredible. We know the appearance is not quite as stellar as this one is, but the trade-off, they're both hitting that same point where you're getting value. It's just where they decided to put their extra feature set. So I also think the Eastman is a great option, just depending on what you're looking for. Both these are excellent contenders. If you are trying to get into a mandolin in that $1,000 price range, I think you couldn't go wrong with either one of these.
Nope.
My favorite accessories to go along with an instrument that also have the most controversy around them. My first one is the tone guard. I've owned one since, I've had one probably 20 years on my mandolin. I was also one of the skeptics at first, thinking it probably didn't do that much, but then I put one on my mandolin. Saw a huge difference. It goes on the back of your instrument and keeps the back of it from touching your belly. I mean, you can just hear that there. But you don't have to hold your mandolin in a weird thing. You can hold it like normal. It just keeps a little separation between your stomach and the back of the instrument. Makes a huge difference. It's not a very expensive upgrade. I dare you to order one, try it on your mandolin. You can send it back if it doesn't make a huge difference. We haven't had one return. So if you're one of the skeptics out there saying, oh, they're selling snake oil, it's just now, 100% money back satisfaction guarantee.
Good job.
See, that makes it sound less snake oil. But one of my favorite upgrades for mandolin. It makes a huge difference. And look at some of your favorite all-star mandolin players out there touring also have one on the back of their instrument. That is true. So that's a good endorsement.
That is true. Also, a great option for you to check out is the Dr. Herringbone's Tone Traveler. This one's really controversial, but I genuinely have seen it work on many instruments. I think that's where it is going to really help the Eastman 315 even more so, because it will round out that top end, make it feel a little bit more open than what it does when it's new. It definitely opens up or breaks in an instrument than simulating what it will do over time. If you have not yet looked into that product, it is something to check out.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool device that goes on to sits on the bridge of the mandolin. But the thing I love about the Dr. Herringbone's Tone Traveler is it actually plays the notes of the mandolin. It does a G, D, A, E. And if you have one like this that is a little bit heavy, maybe in that D range, you can just play like the A and E to try to open up a little bit more of that frequency range in there, because the wood does respond to the vibrations that are going through it.
That's
so if
true.
you're already a little bit heavy on that, you don't necessarily want to keep accentuating that. So this will let you just choose like that A, E, and maybe the G string. Really cool device. We use it here at the shop all the time. I believe in it. There are still skeptics out there, but naysayers may say nay, as Taylor Swift says.
Nay! You sound like a horse.
Okay.
Nay!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out both of these models on our website. Let us know what you could think about them. And remember, we offer the Dreadnought Guarantee, including a 1-year trade-in, where you get up to 90% of your purchase price for any instrument you purchase over $1,000.
Let us know in the comments, which one do you prefer? And if you enjoyed the showdown, hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get to see more gear reviews and battles. It's a whole bunch of fun, and we will see you on the next video.